I don't tell this story much. People think I'm messing with them. But on Thanksgiving of 1998, out off San Diego, something huge came up under the USS Grant. One minute we had music and kids on deck. Next minute a sailor vanished and the sea went dead still. By the time we figured out what was out there, we weren't throwing a holiday party anymore. We were trying not to die. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. I still think about that Thanksgiving. The one back in 1998, off San Diego. Calm seas, bright sky. A whole damn carrier dressed up like a school gym for a holiday party. Folks laugh when I tell them it went bad. They don't picture death crawling under a ship that size. They don't picture the silence after. I was 28 then. A junior deck officer on the USS Grant. Old Nimitz-class beast. Steel groaned in all the right ways, smelled like fuel, paint, and sweat. She wasn't pretty, but she was steady. I trusted her more than most people I knew. Thanksgiving meant Tiger Cruise, families aboard, kids everywhere, spouses, uncles, grandparents, civilians wandering around with that wide-eyed look like they couldn't believe they were standing on a floating airport. And it was my job to keep the safety logs straight while also babysitting my kid brother Lucas. 17, thought he was already grown. Thought carriers were cool and danger was something that happened to other people. I remember walking him across the flight deck early that evening. Sunset haze turning the whole sky orange. The swell mild, barely a bump under our boots. Music playing from some busted speakers. Sailors tossing around a football like they weren't standing on a warship that could erase a city if someone told it to. Lucas elbowed me. "You're too serious, Em. It's Thanksgiving. Live a little." "Yeah, and you're gonna trip over a tie-down and break your teeth," I shot back. He grinned that dumb grin. I hated how much it calmed me. Deck was lined with cheap banners folks made in the mess, paper turkeys taped to bulkheads. Kids holding plates stacked with dried turkey meat and pies that came in plastic trays. Some families took photos near the parked jets. Others asked sailors if the bombs were real. We told them no, even when they were. I spotted Chief Engineer Patel leaning on a railing near the island. Solid guy. Practical. Calm even when half the crew wasn't. He lifted his chin at me. "You look tense, Lieutenant," he said. "Trying to keep my brother from falling off the ship," I said. Lucas rolled his eyes. "As if," Patel chuckled. "He'll survive." "You always do." Then he turned his eyes toward the sea. "Pretty night." It was. Almost too pretty. Water looked flat, too dark under the deck lights. I didn't like how still it was, but I shrugged it off. Holiday nerves. I always got antsy with civilians aboard. Too many variables. Down the deck, Captain Hayes made his rounds. Older guy, gray showing at the edges, wore exhaustion like a second uniform, but he had that look, the one that said he'd seen worse than anything we could imagine. He nodded at families, shook hands, let kids ask him dumb questions. He gave me a tired smile as he passed. "Good turnout this year, Lieutenant." "Yes, sir." "Let's hope it stays calm," he said, and walked on. Lucas tugged at my sleeve. "Lighten up, Em. It's a party." Yeah, but I kept glancing over the rail, couldn't shake it. Something about the water didn't match the air. Too heavy, too quiet, like there was a weight under us. Sailors passed us carrying trays from the buffet line. A couple young ones joked about last deployment, arguing which port had the best beer. A few wives sat near the tied-down jets, swapping stories about missing paychecks and long nights alone. Kids ran between them, holding plastic footballs. One of our deckhands, Briggs, barely 20, still had that boot camp bounce, jogged past with a checklist. "Ma'am, going to check the safety nets. Don't half-ass it," I told him. He flashed a grin. "Never do, ma'am. Funny how you remember tiny moments like that." His voice, his grin, the way he moved like the world couldn't touch him. Lucas and I walked toward the bow for photos. He wanted one near the rails with the sun setting behind him. Said it would look epic. I told him he looked like a twig in a borrowed jacket, but I took the picture anyway. Kid looked happy, but the damn water kept drawing my eye. Blacker than it should have been. Even with the sun not fully down, I could barely see beneath the surface. Just this sheet of darkness brushing the hull. "You okay?" Lucas asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired. But he studied me a second. He knew that look. I didn't have to say anything. A few families pointed out toward sea. Someone said they saw a dolphin. Another said maybe a whale. But nothing broke the surface. Nothing moved. The ocean just sat there like it was holding its breath. I pushed the feeling down again. Didn't want to be the uptight officer ruining everyone's holiday. So I walked Lucas through all the shiny things. The jets, the cables, the island structure. Told him stories from past deployments. Some funny, some stupid. He laughed, asked questions, tried to look cool when sailors talked to him. Later, when the sun dipped low and the lights kicked on, the deck felt warm and easy. Music, chatter, the smell of food, a whole ship full of people enjoying a night they'd remember for years. And still, every time I stepped near the rail, something nagged at me. Sea felt wrong, like it was watching, listening, waiting. I told myself it was just stress. Safety logs stacked up, brother to keep track of. Too many kids running around too close to the edge. But I kept glancing down at the water anyway. Years later, I still remember that feeling. That quiet warning. That was the last normal hour we had before the sea opened up, before we learned what kind of things lurked in the dark under a carrier, before the night turned from celebration to terror. Back then, though, it was just Thanksgiving on the USS Grant, and we had no idea what was underneath us. Things shifted after sunset, not loud, not obvious, just little cracks in the calm. At first, I chalked it up to the usual holiday chaos. Too many people, too many distractions. But looking back, it started right there, in those small moments. I was going through a stack of safety notes near the island when a sonar tech came looking for me. Young guy, nervous. Didn't even try to hide it. Lieutenant Torres, he said, low, glancing around to make sure no civilians overheard. You got a second? Make it quick. We picked up something weird. He swallowed. Something big. How big? He shook his head. Not sure. The contact came in strong, then vanished. Moved fast. Too fast for a sub. Passed right under us. Then nothing. He rubbed his arms like the night air bothered him. I logged it, but I figured you should know. I stared at him a heartbeat longer than I meant to. Equipment glitch? Maybe, he said. But he didn't sound convinced. All right. I'll keep an eye on things. Go back to your station. He nodded and hurried off like he didn't want to think about it anymore. I tried to push it out of my head. These systems hiccup all the time. Big ships mess with their own readings. But the way he looked, like he'd seen something crawl across his screen, stuck with me. A few minutes later, I made my rounds along the deck edge. Families were still scattered about, though many were drifting inside to warm spots and more food. Lucas was with a group of junior sailors who were teaching him how to throw a proper football spiral. He looked happy, carefree. I didn't want to ruin that. Then I reached the port side safety net, or what was left of it. The net wasn't just loose, it was torn, ragged, not frayed from age or weather. A fresh tear. Thick cords shredded like some machine chewed through them. Except we didn't have machines out there, and it sure as hell didn't look like a clean cut from a tool. I crouched, ran my gloved hand over the ripped strands, still stiff from tension like the tear had happened not long ago. A petty officer hurried over when he saw me inspecting it. That net intact this morning? I asked. Yes, ma'am. I'm sure of it. I checked it myself. So what happened? He shook his head. No idea. We didn't run gear past here. No loads over the side. No weather damage. It just wasn't like that earlier. I didn't like that answer. Not one bit. I radioed for Briggs to double-check the remaining nets since he'd been assigned to them anyway. He said he'd head over soon as he finished his current section. Voice sounded normal. Confident. I wish I'd gone with him. When I stood up, a civilian father stood near the rail with two kids gripping his jacket. He looked pale, scanning the water like he expected something to rise from it. You an officer? He asked. Yes, sir. Something wrong? I saw something in the water earlier. His eyes stayed on the dark surface. Looked like a fin. Big one, not a dolphin. Not anything I've ever seen. He squeezed his kids closer. Came up just for a second near one of those little boats you folks tied off. Then disappeared. His voice shook. He wasn't joking. But a couple nearby sailors overheard and laughed it off. One joked about San Diego's Thanksgiving sea monsters. They walked off still grinning. The father didn't grin. He didn't even blink. I'm not letting them near the rails again, he said quietly. That's all right, I told him. Stay back if it makes you comfortable. I wanted to tell him it was nothing, that everything was safe, but the words stuck in my throat. He nodded stiffly and guided his kids away. When they left, I took another long look at the sea. Same uneasy stillness, same heavy dark hanging under the lights. My radio crackled with some minor request about the buffet line. Normal stuff, but it did nothing to settle me. The sonar report, the torn net, the father's story. I kept telling myself these were random things, not connected. Any officer with sense would have written them off, but I felt that itch in my gut. The one that hits before bad news, before things break loose. Lucas jogged up with a football tucked under his arm. You coming inside? They've got dessert set up. In a minute, I said. You're doing the serious face again. It's a holiday. I know, he studied me again like earlier. Everything all right? Yeah, I lied. Just have to check a few things. He didn't buy it, but he let it go. He headed back toward the hangar bay, laughing with the sailors. I stayed a moment longer at the rail. The sea didn't move, not even a shimmer. No moon yet, just black water pressing back at me. Something felt off. Too many small warnings. I didn't know what they meant yet. I didn't know how close things were to breaking open. But that unease, that stayed with me, and it was right. The shift from uneasy to wrong didn't take long. It happened fast, sharp, the way trouble always shows up when you're not ready. The deck had thinned out by then. Most families were drifting inside for warmth and pie, leaving a handful of teens wandering around trying to look cool, and a few sailors still babysitting them. I was headed toward the starboard catwalk when I heard a scream cut across the deck. Not the playful kind. Not a kid being dramatic. This one was real, sharp, terrified, ripping through the calm. A teenage girl stood frozen near the edge, camera dangling from her hand. Her eyes locked on the water like something down there had reached up and grabbed her throat. I jogged over. What happened? She just pointed. Couldn't talk. Her whole arm shook. A couple sailors ran up behind her. One leaned over the rail. Holy hell, he muttered. There's something down there. I looked. At first, I saw nothing. Just a black surface swirling under the carrier's lights. Then the shadow slid through it. Long, wide, slow. Like a dark bar drifting under ice. Did you see that? Someone said. Yeah, that wasn't a whale. It's huge. People gathered. Not many, but enough that voices piled up. Some civilians tried to get closer until I stepped in and pushed them back. Get away from the rail, I ordered. All of you. The shadow dipped out of sight, swallowed by the dark again. The girl clung to the railing support, breathing fast. It was right there, she said. I was trying to get a picture of the lights, and it came up under the surface. It was huge, bigger than a car. I swear it looked up at me. I believed her. I shouldn't have, but I did. I scanned the deck for Briggs. He still hadn't come by with his net report. I keyed my radio. Briggs, status, nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. His radio wasn't answering. I headed toward the torn net area where he'd been assigned. A few sailors followed, curiosity outweighing common sense. I told them to back up, but they trailed anyway, keeping distance. When I reached the section, I saw his flashlight first, rolling slightly on the metal deck. Lights still on, beam weak. His radio lay a few feet away, face down. No Briggs, no struggle, no sign he'd slipped. Just his gear dumped like he set it down and walked off. Only he wouldn't have walked off, not during an inspection. Not without reporting in. I crouched, picked up the flashlight. It felt warm in my hand, like he dropped it not long ago. A petty officer came up beside me. Ma'am, where the hell is he? I don't know, I said. But my stomach tightened. I radioed the bridge. This is Lieutenant Torres. We have a sailor missing. Last location was the port side safety nets. Gear found, but no visual. There was a brief pause before the officer on watch answered. Copy, Lieutenant. We'll notify the captain. Continue searching the immediate area. Keep this quiet for now. Quiet. Always quiet until you can't hide it anymore. A few families lingered nearby, drawn by the earlier scream. Some sensed something was wrong but stayed back, waiting for someone to tell them it wasn't serious. I didn't know what to tell them. Lucas jogged up, breathless. What's going on? People inside are saying someone fell. No one fell, I said. Go back inside. His eyes widened when he saw the flashlight in my hand. Is that Briggs's, Lucas? Inside. Now. He hesitated, but he wasn't stupid. He nodded and backed away. I kept searching along the deck edge, scanning every inch, every dark corner. Nothing. Just that open mouth of black water below. Silent. Heavy. Watching. Word spread fast anyway. Kids whispered. Parents pulled their families close. Sailors traded looks they didn't want civilians seeing. The party didn't stop. Not yet, but the tone shifted. People felt it. Something off. Something creeping at the edges. I sent 2 sailors to check all lower catwalks. Sent another to recheck the interior hatches nearby. I knew what they'd find. Or not find. Briggs was gone. When I headed back toward mid-deck, Captain Hayes met me halfway. Report, he said, voice low. I told him everything. The shadow. The girl's scream. Briggs's missing gear. The earlier torn net. He listened without interrupting. That alone told me how serious it was. Increase deck watch, he said quietly, discreetly. I don't want to panic. The families keep celebrating until we know what we're dealing with. Yes, sir. And stay sharp, Lieutenant. Yes, sir. He walked off toward the bridge, shoulders tight, face set. Families kept on with their holiday plates and small talk, but you could feel the nerves. People glanced at the water more. Kids stuck closer to their parents. A kind of hush settled over the deck. I stayed near the rail a long minute after, staring at the dark below. Something had come up, something big, something bold enough to brush the surface under a carrier, and Briggs was gone. That was the first moment I felt true fear, not panic, not adrenaline, the cold kind, the kind that settles in your bones. And the night was only getting started. The calm didn't last. It never does. Not when something's already gone wrong. The girl's scream, the shadow, Briggs missing, it all sat on the deck like a weight. Folks kept trying to pretend the party wasn't slipping, but you could feel tension crawling in. Captain Hayes ordered a dive team to check the torn net section. He kept it quiet, told families it was routine inspection, but civilians aren't dumb. They saw the divers gearing up on the fantail. They saw the tight faces on the sailors. Word spread before the team even hit the water. I stood with Patel near the edge while the divers went over. They moved quick, no wasted motions. They slid into the water like they didn't want to be out there longer than needed. I couldn't blame them. You hear anything from engineering? I asked Patel. Anything wrong below? Nothing so far, he said. But something's off. I can feel it. That made 2 of us. Divers checked the net from below, flashlights cutting through the dark. We waited. Families drifted closer until I told them to back off. Some listened, some didn't. A couple sailors whispered behind me. You think Briggs fell? No way, not him. Something grabbed him. Come on, that's stupid. Then where is he? I shut that down quick. Knock it off. Last thing we need is rumors. They shut up, but fear stayed in their eyes. 10 minutes passed. Then a diver surfaced fast, waving for the lift line. They hauled him up and he pulled off his mask, breathing hard. Ma'am, he said, looking right at me. You need to see this. They set something on the deck. At first, I couldn't tell what it was. Looked like a chunk of bone. Then the light hit it right, and it locked into place in my head. A tooth. Not a normal sharp tooth. Bigger, longer, thicker. A jagged monster of a thing, yellowed and cracked at the root. Almost the size of my hand. Where the hell did you find that? I asked. In the torn net, the diver said, wedged deep. We had to cut it loose. Patel crouched beside it, eyes narrowing. Great white, he muttered. Has to be. I shook my head. Not that big. Not normally, he said. Rumors didn't just spread after that. They exploded. Sailors who'd been calm an hour earlier now whispered about a giant shark under the hull. Civilians saw the tooth before I could cover it. A few parents grabbed their kids and bolted inside. People argued, pointed, yelled for answers. The hangar bay became a choke point. Families trying to get inside all at once. No order. Just panic. A couple sailors tried to hold the line but got shoved aside. Someone slipped on the ramp. A kid. I saw him go down. Bodies piled up around him. Screams kicked off. Lucas saw it from across the bay and sprinted over to help. I yelled after him, but he ignored me, idiot. But he managed to drag the kid out before someone crushed him. He guided them to the wall, shaking. Crowd kept pushing. Some thought lifeboats were getting launched. Some thought the ship was sinking. None of it true. But fear doesn't wait for facts. I cut through the mess and got to a ladder well, climbing fast back to the deck. Captain Hayes was already there, talking with the bridge over his radio, his jaw tight. "Sir," I said. "Crowd's getting ugly in the hangar bay. People are panicking." "Understood," he said. "We're shutting down everything non-essential. Get more sailors down there. I want civilians separated and calmed." "Yes, sir." Before I moved, he caught my arm. "Lieutenant, this is real. That tooth isn't normal." "I know." "And Briggs, I know," I repeated. He nodded once. "Keep your brother close." Everything shifted after that. No more holiday feel. The deck emptied except for watch crews and officers. The music went off. Lights stayed bright, but the air felt darker, more serious. Families inside huddled in corners, whispering, watching every sailor who walked by for information. Some kids cried. Some parents tried to act brave. Lucas found me near the island. "This isn't a joke anymore, is it?" "No," I said. "Stay with me from now on." He swallowed hard but nodded. Outside, the divers wrapped up fast. They didn't want to be in the water. I didn't blame them. Something big enough to leave a tooth like that wasn't a normal predator. And it sure as hell wasn't acting normal. Patel walked over quietly. "Whatever did that, it's old," he said. "You can tell from the wear. It's been around a while." He didn't need to say the rest. Old things get big. Old things survive for a reason. I reported everything to the bridge again. Hayes ordered higher alert posture but didn't call for full lockdown. Not yet. He still didn't know what we were facing. By then, the hangar bay was calmer. More sailors arrived to keep order. Lucas stayed glued to my side, suddenly not so brave. I walked topside again, looked over the rail. Same heavy darkness staring back at me. Something down there was testing us, pushing in, getting bold, and we were losing control fast. The Grant had gone from holiday party to near panic in under an hour, and it was only going to get worse. The change hit hard. No more whispers or quiet signs. The thing under us stopped playing around. It came out swinging, and all that holiday calm snapped in an instant. It started with a supply float we were hauling in. Just a simple pallet drifting alongside, hooked to a winch line. Standard stuff. I was on the starboard side with Patel and a few sailors checking deck positions, keeping civilians off the catwalks. 1 second the float bobbed easy on the swell. The next second the whole ocean jumped. Water exploded upward under the pallet, blasting it into the air like a toy. Sailors shouted. Someone yelled, "What the hell was that?" But nobody had an answer. The pallet didn't just break, it disintegrated. Wood, rope, and metal scattered across the surface. The winch line snapped with a sharp crack that made everyone flinch. Patel grabbed the rail. That wasn't natural. Before I could answer, someone further up yelled, "Contact off the bow." Something's rising. People ran toward the front of the deck. Sailors mostly, a few civilians who hadn't been forced inside yet. I pushed through them, Lucas right on my heels even though I told him to stay back. I got to the edge just in time to see the water surge up like a dome. Then it breached. A shark. No, a monster pretending to be one. It burst out of the water with so much force the air shook. White belly, scars crossing its sides like railroad tracks. Rough skin, torn in places, old wounds, healed ugly. Rows of teeth like rusted knives. This thing had seen decades of fights and survived all of them. It was huge. Longer than the safety boats, maybe 25 feet, maybe more. Hard to tell through the spray and the shock, but what froze everyone wasn't the size. It was the way it moved. Not wild, not dumb. It scanned, it circled, it stayed close to the hull like it knew exactly what it was doing, like it had a purpose. Someone whispered, "Great white." Another said, "No great white's that big." A third muttered, "We need to get the hell out of here." Lucas just stared, mouth open, gripping my sleeve so tight his knuckles went white. Captain Hayes' voice crackled over the ship-wide speakers. "All hands, this is the captain. Secure all civilians. Move inside now. Repeat, Move all civilians inside immediately. Alarms kicked on. Not the fire drills or man overboard ones, internal emergency tones. Sharp. No holiday feel left. The deck turned chaotic fast. Sailors rushed to herd families off the rails, some dragging their kids, some frozen in place staring at the water. People shouted orders and questions. Some civilians cried. Some panicked. And that shark stayed near the bow, sliding through the surface again, barely submerged, shadow huge and easy to see under the deck lights. Patel leaned close to me. It's not just cruising. It's sizing the ship up. I know, I said. Feels like it's looking for a weak point. Fish don't think like that. This one does. He didn't argue. The creature dipped under the surface again. We could see its shadow glide past the starboard side. A dark stripe under the ship. Slow. Confident. The ocean felt too quiet again, but this time there was no calm in it. Just pressure, like something massive pressed against the hull as it passed beneath us. Hayes met us on the deck a minute later, eyes locked on the water. "That's no normal animal," he said quietly. "No, sir," I answered. A junior sailor beside him whispered, "It's hunting." Hayes shot him a look. "It's doing something. That's enough for now," but we all knew. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but the truth sat there in our guts. This wasn't wildlife acting strange. This was an attack. Civilians were still being rushed toward hatches. Some didn't move fast enough. Some argued, thinking we were overreacting. Then a second burst of water splashed against the hull, and that convinced them. People ran. Kids screamed. Boots thundered on the metal deck. I grabbed Lucas and shoved him toward the hangar entrance. "Stay inside. Don't fight me on this." "What about you?" he asked, voice cracking. "I'll be right behind you." He hesitated. Go." He finally ran. The shark surfaced again near the stern this time, way too fast for something that size. Sailors backed up without being ordered. One dropped the flashlight and didn't bother picking it up. Someone else whispered a prayer. When it slipped under again, the sound it made, a low, deep rumble, vibrated through the deck plates. Felt like the ship shivered. The bridge called out updates. Unknown contact circling. Maintain emergency posture. Understatement of the century. The holiday lights were still taped to the bulkheads. Turkey drawings still fluttered in the breeze. Music gear still sat unplugged by the bow. All of it looked stupid now. Out of place. Like decorations left behind in a building being evacuated. Within minutes, the deck was cleared except for watch crews and officers. Civilians locked down inside. Tension everywhere. People trying not to look scared and failing. Hayes turned to me. "Lieutenant, get fresh eyes on the lower catwalks. Make sure no one slipped out. Keep all hatches secure." "Yes, sir." Patel touched my shoulder. "Stay sharp." "That thing's not done." "I know." When he walked off, I stepped back to the rail alone. Looked down. Black water. No movement. But I knew it was there, watching, waiting, trying to decide its next move. The Grant wasn't in party mode anymore. She was in crisis mode. And the creature knew it had us on edge. That was the moment the real nightmare started. And the ship was no longer the biggest thing in the water. The deck stayed empty, but the tension didn't. Felt like the whole ship held its breath. The shark had vanished under us, and somehow that was worse than seeing it. When things go quiet at sea, it's never a gift. I made rounds near the island, checking railings, checking shadows, checking every damn thing twice. A few watch sailors stuck close, eyes scanning the water even when I told them to focus on their sectors. Radio traffic buzzed in my ear, short, tight. Everyone talking just enough to stay coordinated. No extra words. Then the radio started failing. At first it was small, static edging in, words cutting out, sailors saying, "Say again," more than usual. I thought it was interference from equipment until the long-range channels dropped one by one. Satellite lines fuzzed out. Emergency frequencies turned to white noise. "Communications are degrading," someone reported from the bridge. Patel radioed up from engineering, voice faint under the static. "We're checking systems. Nothing broken." "Copy," I said, but I didn't buy it. It felt like something under the hull was killing our signals. Maybe the mass of the shark messing with reflections. Maybe water pressure shifts. Maybe it was just being close to something that damn big. I didn't know. None of us did. Down below, things were getting worse. I headed into the hangar bay to check on the civilians. Soon as I stepped inside, I felt the chaos like heat. Families packed in tight. Too many people in one place, kids crying. Parents trying to stay calm but failing. Sailors tried to organize them into groups, but panic doesn't listen to rank. Some folks insisted on getting off the ship. Some tried to push toward the hangar doors. A near stampede started again, and we had to shove back hard just to keep the walkway clear. A teenage boy slipped on a patch of spilled water. His dad panicked, grabbed him, and knocked 3 people over. It rippled out until half a dozen civilians hit the deck. Women screamed. Someone yelled that the shark was coming inside. Total nonsense, but fear makes anything sound real. I grabbed the nearest railing and shouted, "Stay calm. Stay where you are." My voice sounded harsher than I meant, but it worked. People froze long enough for sailors to pull the injured aside. Lucas pushed through the crowd and reached me, face pale. "Em, you need help?" "No, I need you to stay safe." I grabbed his jacket. "Listen to me. Stay with the sailors in the bay. Don't leave this area unless someone says so." "You're going back outside?" "I don't have a choice." He swallowed. "This is bad, isn't it?" "It's not good," I admitted. "But don't freak out. I'll be fine." He nodded, but I saw the fear in him. Real fear. The kind that sticks. I headed back topside. Soon as I hit the deck, I felt the shift. The lights flickered. Not enough to black out, but enough to make every sailor look up sharply. Then parts of the deck went dim. Just sections, not full failure, but the kind of flicker that means circuits are straining. Backup kicked in slow, leaving low patches of shadow that made the ocean look even darker. "Report the power fluctuation," I said into my radio. Static answered me. Then a voice cracked through. "We're seeing impacts on the hull. Aft section. Something's hitting us." The sailor sounded breathless, scared. I ran to the starboard side catwalk and leaned out, scanning the water. Couldn't see anything. Just black swell rolling slow, brushing the ship almost gentle. Another hit. Deeper. A thump that carried through the metal into my boots. Not enough to damage us, but enough to feel like a warning. 2 watch sailors stepped back from the edge. One whispered, "It's testing us. It's feeling out the hull." I didn't correct him because he wasn't wrong. Captain Hayes came down from the island, face tight. "Power's unstable in sections. Engineering is on it." "The shark?" I asked. "No visuals, but we're getting intermittent vibrations along the hull. Sir, families are losing it in the hangar bay." "I know." His voice dropped. "We keep them contained. We keep this ship steady. We handle the creature when it shows itself again." He walked off, shouting orders. For a moment, I stood alone on the deck. The carrier felt huge and hollow under the emergency lights. Dark zones creeping across metal. Empty walkways. Silent jets tied down like ghosts. I looked over the rail again. The water churned gently. Too gently. A beast that big should disturb more. But it moved like it knew how to hide its presence. Like it'd done this before. Then my thoughts went to Lucas. I pictured him in that packed hangar, scared but trying to be brave. And Briggs, gone somewhere under the waves, no trace left except his gear on the deck. Fear hit me hard for the first time. Not the cold kind. The sharp one that spikes your heart and makes you question every choice you've made up to that moment. I gripped the railing and forced myself to breathe. I was an officer. I had people counting on me. I couldn't break, not now. But under all that duty, one truth hit me clean. Whatever was under us wasn't done. Not even close. And the next move it made wasn't going to be a warning. It was going to be a hit. The next hit came harder than all the others. No warning, no shadow, no sound from the water first. Just raw force driving straight into the stern. The whole carrier jumped. Metal groaned deep in the frame, a long grinding sound that froze every sailor on deck. The deck shuddered under my boots. Tools rattled. A loose tie-down hook clanged against steel. Then the steering alarms went off. Not the training tones, the real ones. "Impact on the rudder assembly," someone shouted from the island. Heavy hit. I sprinted aft. Patel was already moving that way, face tight, radio pressed hard to his ear. "Engineering's reading stress alarms," he yelled. "The rudder's taking damage." "How bad?" "Bad enough we lose control if it keeps up." Another slam. This one deeper. The stern dipped a hair, just enough that you felt gravity shift. Sailors grabbed whatever they could. A few went to their knees. The Grant wasn't built to get shoved like a fishing boat, but that thing below didn't care. I got to the aft section where a small crew stood staring over the rail like they expected the ocean to grab them. "Back off the edge," I barked. "Get away from the rail." They stumbled back, eyes wide. Below us, the water churned, not from waves, from movement. Something huge swinging through the dark, hitting us again. A third strike slammed into the rudder housing. Louder, stronger. The metal under our feet vibrated like it was about to give. Patel grabbed the rail to steady himself. "It's targeting the steering," he said. "It knows exactly where to hit." "That's impossible," I shot back. But he wasn't wrong. The beast wasn't just ramming us. It had a plan. And the worst part, it was working. Steering warnings flashed across the island windows. You could hear the bridge yelling orders over the interior speakers. "Compensate, hold her steady," voices tight, controlled, barely. I keyed my radio. "This is Lieutenant Torres, aft section. Stern taking repeated hits. Rudder assembly compromised. We need reinforcement down here." Static bit into the transmission, but the bridge caught enough. "Copy. Teams inbound." A group of sailors rushed down from the portside ladder well. Chief Patel's engineering personnel mixed in. They carried toolkits, emergency braces, everything short of welding gear. We moved fast. The catwalk leading down to the steering compartment was narrow, exposed, wind whipping across it. The ship rocked slightly with each new thump against the stern. Below us, water surged, lit by the deck lights in flashes of white foam. Then a shadow ripped past, long, wide, heavy. It brushed the metal underside of the catwalk, making the whole structure quiver. Lucas appeared at the top of the ladder, breathless. I came to help. "Lucas, get back inside," I snapped. "Now, I'm not leaving you out here. You'll do what I say." My voice came out harsher than I meant. Just then, the shark hit again. The entire stern lurched. Lucas stumbled sideways, feet sliding toward the edge of the catwalk. He reached for the rail but missed. I grabbed his arm, hard, yanked him in before he slipped through the gap. He slammed against me, breathing fast, eyes wide. "Inside," I said low. "Now." He nodded quickly this time. Fear finally won over stubbornness. He backed toward the hatch but didn't fully leave. He stayed close, watching. We scrambled down the ladder toward the steering compartment hatch. Patel led the way. Sailors followed, boots clanging on steel. Inside the compartment, lights flickered. Warning indicators blinked red across the panel. The bulkhead shook every time the shark brushed the stern. "Pressure's building on the lower plates," one engineer said. "We lose one more seam, the rudder locks up. Another hit, harder." The floor panels jumped. Patel grabbed a brace bar and shoved it into place. "We need to reinforce the assembly before it bends further." "Get those braces in," I ordered. "Move." Sailors worked fast, setting bars, locking bolts, tightening clamps. Sweat ran down their faces, even with the cold air blowing in. Outside the compartment, the water erupted again, a loud surge echoing up the metal frame. The shark wasn't ramming blindly. It was adjusting angles, hitting where the plating was weakest. One sailor muttered, "How does it know? How the hell does it know where to strike?" "Doesn't matter," I said. "Keep working." The ship lurched again. This one nearly threw me into the bulkhead. Patel shot me a quick look. "It's lining up something bigger." I moved to the small porthole-sized inspection window. Couldn't see the creature, only the black churn of ocean slamming against the stern. Then everything went still. Too still. The water calmed in a way that made my skin crawl, like the ocean exhaled and waited. Patel stepped closer. "It's repositioning." I felt it too. The moment before something big happens. A kind of dead air that isn't silence, just absence. Wrong absence. "Everyone brace," I shouted. "Hold on to something." We grabbed rails and pipes. Sailors pressed their backs against the bulkheads. A low vibration rolled through the ship. Deep, heavy, heavy. Not a hit. Not yet. It felt like the monster dove, further than before. Preparing. The Grant shuddered from keel to deck. Even the air felt heavier. Patel looked at me. "If it hits the rudder dead on from that depth, I know. We might lose steering entirely. We might spin. We might drift. And in a carrier, drifting isn't harmless. One wrong angle and currents can shove you where you don't want to go." The vibration stopped. Silence. Then it came. A rising roar from below, not sound but force. Water surging upward fast. Closing distance quick. The monster charging from deep below for one final hit to finish the job. Patel shouted, "Incoming." I pulled Lucas behind the inner compartment door as he tried to come down the ladder again. He fought me, but I shoved him back toward the passage. "Stay down." He didn't argue this time. I pressed myself against the bulkhead, teeth grit. The whole ship braced. The hit was moments away. And I knew if this one landed clean, the Grant wouldn't stand it. The strike never landed. Not the way we expected. Right when that deep roar rose up the hull and everyone braced for the kill hit, something shifted. The angle changed. The force dipped. The monster veered at the last second. The impact still slammed the stern, but off-center. Enough to rattle teeth, not enough to finish the rudder. Metal screamed. Bolts popped, but the steering gear held. Barely. Patel yelled over the noise. "We won't survive another one." We didn't have time for a fix. We didn't have time for anything except reacting right then. I grabbed my radio. Static fuzzed through it, but I forced my voice through. "Bridge, we need distraction. Anything. Now." Hayes answered through broken static. "Ideas? One shot. A dead man boy. Food scraps. Pack a seawater trigger into it." Silence on the line. Then, "Do it." We moved fast. Everyone did. No hesitation. Every sailor who'd been shaking now sprinted like they'd been training for this moment their whole damn lives. We hauled out a buoy shell used for emergency drift markers. Cracked it open. Loaded it with whatever scraps we had. Galley waste, leftover turkey bones, fish bits from storage. Anything with scent. Patel tossed me a small emergency charge. "This'll pop underwater if it wets out. Not huge, but enough to hurt something close." "Good," I said. Lucas stood nearby, watching with tight eyes, face pale but steady. "What do you need?" "Stay behind the hatch," I told him, "and don't argue." He didn't. He helped hand off tools and scraps, silent, quick. We wired the charge into the buoy. Sealed it. Checked it twice. No time for a third. I dragged it toward the rail with two sailors. The ocean below churned again, the monster circling back, getting into position for the next hit. The final one. "On my count," I said. 1, 2, drop. We shoved the buoy over the edge. It splashed hard, bobbing once, then settling. The scent hit the water immediately, spreading fast. Everyone held their breath. The surface bulged. Then the shark rose. Straight up, mouth wide. Rows of teeth catching the deck lights. It hit the buoy in one brutal bite. For a half second, time froze. Then the charge detonated. The explosion muffled underwater but strong enough to blast a plume up the side of the ship. The shock wave rattled the rails. The sailors beside me ducked. The lights fluttered. When the water settled, the monster drifted back down, not fast, not graceful, dead weight sinking in the dark. A massive shape fading into black water without a fight. No cheers. No celebration. Just silence. No one trusted it at first. No one even breathed until engineering called in steady readings. Then the captain's voice came over the speakers. Rudder stable. Steering responding. Communications recovering. Minutes later, radio clarity returned. Emergency channels opened. All the static faded like someone flipped a switch. We'd survived. At dawn, helicopters came in. Civilians were evacuated first, shaken, quiet, clutching their kids like the sea might reach for them again. Lucas stayed close to me the whole time until his legs stopped trembling. Briggs never turned up, not a trace. We added his name to the list the Navy keeps for those lost at sea. I stood on the deck after sunrise, watching the calm water. Looked normal again, innocent, like nothing had ever happened. Captain Hayes walked up beside me. Didn't say much, didn't have to. "You kept us alive," he said softly. "Good work, Lieutenant." I nodded. Didn't feel like a victory, just survival. Lucas joined me, looking out over the ocean. "I'll never joke about the sea again," he said. "Good," I told him. "It doesn't care if you're ready or not." Years later, most folks never heard a word about the Thanksgiving shark incident. Navy kept it quiet. Families talked, but nobody listened. Sounded too crazy. But every sailor who was there remembers. The day the USS Grant stopped being the biggest thing in the water, and the night the sea reminded us what lives under it. So that's the end of our video. If you made it this far, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free. And if you want more terrifying encounters like this one, check out the other videos on screen right now. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you soon.